Every story has a beginning, but what if your beginning is a mystery? What if the first chapter of life is written in questions, not answers? This is the story of a journey, not just across miles, but through time, identity, and the unbreakable bonds of love that transcend blood and borders. Some beginnings are wrapped in silence. A small bundle left outside an orphanage in northern Sierra Leone. Nothing but a faded blanket and 5 words scrawled on weathered paper. Please take care of her. No name, no history, no explanation for the love that must have fueled such an impossible choice. Just a plea whispered into the darkness and a life entrusted to strangers. The universe writes its secrets in our DNA. In the curve of an eyebrow, the sound of laughter, the way hands move when telling a story. Growing up with these mysteries means searching for answers in reflections, wondering which parts are echoes of unknown origins and which parts are simply your own. Love feels a home, but questions still linger in the corners of sleepless nights. Adoption is a tapestry woven with threads of both gain and loss. For every moment of belonging, there's a shadow of wandering. For every celebration, a quiet wondering about who else might share the same birthday. The adoptive parents give boundless love, stability, and foundation, but they cannot give answers to questions that live in the blood and bone. At 25, courage takes the form of a small plastic tube and a decision to face whatever truth might emerge. The DNA test results arrive with clinical precision. Ancestry, tracing back to specific regions in West Africa, genetic cousins scattered across various continents, and the first tangible connections to the past that has always been invisible. It isn't much, just coordinates on a map of possibility, but sometimes a single star is enough to navigate by. The search unfolds in the glow of computer screens, in message boards where strangers share strategies for finding lost families, in support groups where tears are shed over both reunions and dead ends. The community of searchers span the globe, adoptees, birth parents, and organizations dedicated to healing the wounds of separation. Each story different, yet bound by the same fundamental human need to know and to be known. One message changes everything. A woman who runs a non-profit in West Africa dedicated to family reunification reaches out with an offer to help. Her words carry the weight of possibility. They begin to piece together fragments of a past long buried. The airplane carries more than just a passenger to Sierra Leone. It carries questions accumulated over decades, photographs of adoptive family ready to embrace new connections, and the weight of possibility. Below, the land unfolds, the first sprawling energy of Freetown, then the smaller communities, finally, the rural villages where time moves to different rhythms and family ties run deeper than any official record. All the while, managing expectations that grow with each passing day. The dangerous, beautiful hope that answers await. Hospital records, village elders' memories, community migration patterns, and the quiet knowledge held by those who witness everything. Preparing for the journey becomes a ritual of hope. Learning basic local language phrases, studying maps of regions that exist only in abstract concepts, packing gifts for people who may or may never exist. Breakthrough comes in unexpected forms. A woman in a village nearby remembers a baby girl years ago. The dates align, the circumstances match, and there's something more, a birthmark that she describes without prompting. The final piece of the puzzle slides into place, and suddenly the search has a destination. The village appears first as a collection of modest structures, then as faces, curious, welcoming, knowing. Children pause their play to watch the visitor. Women stop their work, and then standing in the doorway of a simple home, a woman whose eyes tell a story of waiting. The moment of recognition transcends language. The same eyes, the same hands, the same tilt of head when listening. Time collapses in the space between them. The story emerges carefully through the translator's careful words and the universal language of tears. A young woman, barely more than a child herself, a pregnancy during civil unrest, pressure from family, no resources, an impossible choice made with the desperate hope that her child might find safety and opportunity elsewhere. And all these years later, the prayers she has whispered every night for her daughter, whose face she could only imagine. Days unfold in a dance of discovery. learning to prepare cassava leaves and groundnut stew, meeting half-siblings who share the same dimple when they smile, hearing stories of grandparents and great-grandparents whose blood runs through veins that cross oceans. The village embraces its returned daughter with celebration and tears, sharing not just their present but their past, the stories, traditions, and wisdom that have been her birthright all along. Yet, amid the joy of discovery comes complexity. The adoptive parents who remain at home, supportive but anxious. The realization that roots are not simple things. They grow in multiple directions, drawing nourishment from different soils. Identity isn't found in a single place or person. It's cultivated in the space between origins and choices, between blood and bond. When it's time to leave, promises are exchanged to stay connected, to visit again, to build bridges between two worlds. A mother places a hand-carved pendant around her daughter's neck, a family heirloom meant to protect travelers. The goodbye is not an ending, but a beginning, the start of a relationship that will continue to evolve across oceans and time zones, through video calls and messages and occasional precious visits. Return brings its own form of transformation. The familiar streets of home now exist in conversation with dusty village paths. Everyday object, a coffee mug, a favorite chair, share space with treasures brought back, a woven basket, a traditional cloth, photographs of a newfound family. The person who returns is not the same person who left. The returnee now has a fuller sense of self, a completed circle. Years later, children play in a garden where plants from different continents grow side by side. A daughter named after her mother who gave life. A son named after the father who gave belonging. The journey from abandonment to wholeness, from questions to answers, from separation to connection, speaks of something universal in the human experience. We are all in some way searching for our place in the world. We all seek to understand the forces that shape us, the people whose blood runs in our veins, the circumstances that set us on our particular path. But perhaps most importantly, this journey reminds us that family is not defined by blood alone. It is created through love, sustained through choice, and expanded through courage. It exists in the people who raise us, in those who share our DNA, and in the communities that embrace us along the way. As the sun sets on this story, we are left not with a neat conclusion, but with a continuing conversation between past and present, between different forms of love, between the family we are born into and the family we create. It's a conversation that will continue for generations, each new voice adding depth and nuance to a story that began with a single act of both heartbreak and hope outside an orphanage in Sierra Leone. Everybody's journey begins with a question: where will yours lead? Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to The Real Crow for weekly uploads of stories like this.